Evening, folks, and welcome back to The View for this week's podcast, international break. So we decided to have a little bit of a different chat about stuff. Instead of looking back at the game from the weekend, we're going to look back at the month in general and from when we came back from the last international break against Sheffield United to where we are right now. We'll go through kind of the home and away records and the stats for the month as well, and we'll talk to the guys and get their take on things. But we'll start by just checking in with everybody. We've joined by James from Not Another Leeds podcast and Leeds House, Luke down below from the Orton Know Better podcast, and Jerry, the resident from the formerly LS11, Jerry McNamee. James, how's things? And welcome to the show for the first time. How are you doing?
I'm good, mate. Thanks for having me. It's like I said to you before, it's nice to get out on someone else's show because I don't really do this a lot, but it's good to be here, and I feel left out because I'm the only one that's got hair. So thanks, guys.
The Baldcast. We'll talk about the Baldies then. Luke, how are you doing, mate? How's things?
Yeah, very well, Jay. Thanks for inviting me on. But I think it's actually the first time I've joined you on one of these. I know we've been
on a few. You've been on a couple. Might be a while though, but you've been on a few.
It must be a while, yeah. I mean, not certainly this season. I think it's the first, but good to be back. Then I know I've been on a couple of things. I don't know if I've been with on a podcast type thing with you. I know I've been on a couple of other things, but hey, I'm here. That's all that counts.
Good. Well, you're an expert at the podcast. You guys are knocking it out of the park with Orton Know Better, so no bother to you. And Jerry McNamee back in the house. Jerry, how are you doing? How's things?
I'm just trying to get me lighting right here because I don't want to shine it too much on our hirsute friend. No, all good. Yeah, enjoying and frustrated at Leeds in equal measures, but it's all good. Hey, we got the Declan Rice derby at the weekend, although no England players are turning up, so looking forward to that as well. International break. Yeah.
I've had this conversation with a couple of people on Twitter. Barcelona pulled 2 players from the internationals, and England have had 8 withdrawn. Leeds players will march off as the best boys in school off to play internationals with no consequences, hopefully. But yeah, you can. Boys. These kind of games, you'd like to see them say no, wouldn't you? Just a couple of them, just the lads that were injured specifically, and make sure they come back in one piece, for God's sake. We've got a bit to get into and a bit to talk about. We've had an interesting month, I suppose. We came out of the last international break, James. We were sitting 5th in the table, and we looked at the kind of games, and you thought, Sheffield United first one back, that's going to be a toughie. We only need a day to prepare for it. Then you've Watford straight after that, but both home games, but 2 big games at that moment. And you come away with it with 6 points, and you think, great, this is it now. And the next 4, maximum points from them. And then it kind of just, as Jerry says, that's where the frustration kicked in, and it went a little bit weird away from home. But the home form has been excellent. What were your thoughts on the month in general, James, coming into it, and then how you feel coming out of it?
I went into it thinking that we'd win every single game. After watching them all, I still think we should have won every single game. The Sheffield United one I was worried about the most because it would be straight off the back of that international break, and I hate international breaks with our players all over the world. But that was probably our best performance, really, other than the Plymouth game, which they didn't really put before. But the Sheffield United one, we absolutely dominated. I don't think they had a shot on target either, did they? It was like them and Plymouth for like the only teams that didn't have a shot. So I was really chuffed with that. And I thought, after watching that, I thought we'd literally blitz everyone else after that. But we kind of did, but just more in possession stats. The Watford game, we went up, didn't we, early on. And I think it took us a bit by surprise because we allowed them into it, took our foot off the gas. They got into it, and then all of their energy just went, they were going down with cramp. So that turned out to be pretty easy. And then, we go into the Bristol one after that, weren't it? Bristol. Yeah. Just one of them games. Yeah, the games that we've seen over and over again, still think we should have won, still had the better chances, but it was just a slog. But we come out of it with a clean sheet. So the 2, and then the Mill game, they lost to Mill. That was, again, I still think we should have won that. But they defensively did well against us, and they hit us on what we're always usually weak at. We have been weak at in recent seasons anyway, set piece goal. But these games where we're wanting to blitz and we're sitting back and we're knocking it about, I'm always confident that we're going to keep a clean sheet, that we're going to keep teams out. So I don't worry as much about us not being so attacking at the moment, because I think that will come when we get all our players back and they gel a bit more. Overall month, mate, I am happy, could slightly be happier, but confident that we are still the best team in this league.
Good. It's a good place to be. We've definitely progressed since this time last month, or the last international break. Luke, we were sitting 5th in that table. We were 3 points behind the leaders then. We're now sitting in 3rd, just 2 points behind. So a lot of games have passed. We're 1 point closer, but we've managed to put a little bit of a gap between ourselves and some of the teams below us. What's your thoughts on the month so far, and just basically the form in general?
I'm probably more. I mean, you know me. I'm a resident happy clapper according to social media. So you know, I'm gonna find a glass half full somewhere and somewhere. But I genuinely don't get this concern, this worry, and whilst I still think the players aren't beyond criticism and performances and lineups and styles and however you want to dress it up, I don't think they're beyond criticism. I think we just need to take a sensible step back sometimes and actually have a look at things from a bigger and wider perspective, because we haven't been poor in any games, particularly this season. I don't think. If I'm perfectly honest with you, probably the worst we played was the first game of the season. And was it Portsmouth?
Borough in the cup, but we don't count the cup. So
West Brom was a bit dull.
Yeah.
A bit dull,
was quite early on. So I think we got those out of us skin a little bit early. I still think we control most games. We always look the favourites to win. And look, bounce of a ball here and there. We're already top of this league and maybe 3 points clear. I think we probably should be a few more points ahead of where we currently are. 2 of those points coming from Sunderland. I probably think a draw would have been fair at Millwall, and again we should have beaten Bristol. But it's all this shoulda, woulda, coulda, and apparently they're the last words of a fool. So, but I still maintain, similar to James, we are the big fish in this league, and call us big-headed and entitled or whatever you want. But there's nobody who frightens me. You know, I still think your Burnley, Sheffield United are probably around, probably with their their best starting 11 are probably as close as anyone's going to get to us this season for man to man. But in terms of the month, mate, no, I'm happy. I could be happier, but I'm not losing any faith. I'm not losing any sleep. I still feel we are going to comfortably win this league.
I definitely feel we'll go up automatically. And that's where I am right now. I still think there's just a couple of little things. The away form is still a bit of a niggle for me that we need to sort that out a little bit if we're going to, get to that top spot and then blow everyone away. But Jerry, looking back on the month so far, as we said, we've seen some improvements, but are you concerned about any of the form, or are you like the lads are just kind of, we're okay, we're sitting in nicely and we've still got a lot of place and got our time to do our sprinting when we need to?
Well, the stats show have the most points after 15 games. We're dominating games, and as the guys say, there's nobody that I've seen out there that is better than us. I think we've shot ourselves in the foot a few times. I mean, we should have beaten Sunderland, obviously. Bristol City, it was one knocked off the line. It wasn't a great game. Probably a good point away from home against a championship team as Bristol. Anything can happen there. I was a bit annoyed after the Millwall game. I thought that was really poor right through from the whole performance to the manager and decisions and everything else. But the beauty is you can afford to lose an odd game and you get over it quite quickly. And we have dominated teams. It worried me, I suppose, with QPR, you're 1-0 up, cruising. But, they had a tricky winger. And, one ball in and one shot that goes in, all of a sudden you're struggling. But that's not happened to us this year. Maybe with Portsmouth it did. But overall, there's more in the tank. We're not at full throttle. We're missing, I think Ramzani was a big loss. I thought he was just firing. We got Dan James back. The midfield is a bonus from, you lose 2 influential midfielders and 2 more turn up, like proverbial buses, and Tanaka and Rothwell are swapping, as far as I'm concerned, man of the match. Either way. I think Bogle, sometimes he was poor against Millwall. On Saturday, he was up for it. Melier, well, he can go shopping most games when we're at home. I think he has. Yeah, I think he popped down to B&Q on Saturday, and against Plymouth, I could have went in goals. So these teams, I think Championship is poor this year. A lot of them, and we've shown we're and as Luke says, we're not being big-headed about it. We know that we've got it in us to mess it up, and I think that's the concern with Leeds fans. And when things aren't quite going right, then you moan about the subs. We looked at Plymouth, subs were just right. Take the guys off, manage the game, and we saw Givalogi. Is that hack? And I can never remember.
Givalogi, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's going to be. He's a cult hero already, and I think he's going to be useful. He does things, and you think he looks like Carlton Palmer, but he's got skill, and that's the sort of thing that jumps out at me. You know, I've seen Charlie Crew come on; it's just been called up to the Welsh squad, and he hit a shot that nearly went in. Dan James has been nursed back. I think Solomon a bit worried about he's not fully fit, and there's a bit of rumblings there, but I think, as you were saying off air, I think our two centre halves are probably the pass up to the most passes, and that probably says a lot about our style. But we're a few kicks away. Where Brendan Harrison crossbar away from another goal, a couple of off the line, and maybe a few going to run for us. We're creating the chances, the stats show, but we got to our away form. We got to get a good away win in. But I think that's more our fault than anybody putting us to the sword. And we're tucked in nicely. I think Sunderland are going to hold. I think Sheffield United are going to be the team, but they've got a good 11. But have they got anything after that? And when they played us, they didn't look much. So let's hope Chris Wilder doesn't have another night out on the bear on the back of a win against us. He's a character, old Chris.
Bookmark that straight away. Celebrating too early, mate. Way too early.
I know someone that knows him, and he's supposed to be a really good lad. And
supposed to be a lovely bloke, yeah.
Yeah, he's supposed to be all right. Yeah, he's good for a pint. But yeah, I think doing okay. Could do better. And yeah, just work a bit harder, lads. That's what I'd put. Yeah, stop getting distracted by the naughty kids in the class, and just do a little bit better, and you'll be fine for the exams. I think that's the report I'd put in.
Okay, so doing fine. More to do, a little bit more to do. Could do better. So the usual half-term kind of stuff. Luke, let's talk about the form, and let's split this up, I suppose. And I suppose this is where, because apparently I shouldn't have an opinion. So yeah, when I'll clarify what I said. I said in Joe's show that I didn't think Leeds were the best team in the league because they're not top of the division. That's what I meant. I didn't mean the squad. I didn't mean the players. I meant statistically we're not top. So that top team for me is always the best. Come the end of the season, the top team in that league would be the best team in that league. And that's my point. After 14 games, we weren't the best. That was the point that I was trying to make had I been allowed to make it. So that's what I was trying to say. Okay. So we cleared that up. So I want to get into this, and this is my point exactly. And I want to talk about this. If we look at the league table, Luke, as it is right now, you can see that we are sitting third overall. It's not bad. We're very much in touch and distance. And the form is interesting because when you break it up, and I'll get your take on this, home form-wise, Leeds are joint top with Watford and Sheffield United. So two of the three teams that are running away with it. Not running away with it. Two of the three teams that are in the top three, level on points from home. And then the away form is where the issue for me, just the niggle comes in. Leeds 7th in the away table. We've dropped 11 points away from home. We've only dropped 4 at home. Home record's brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. That away form, Luke, does that concern you at all? Does it need to improve? Or where's your head at versus home versus away?
I think the biggest concern for me in terms of the away form is the clubs that we've played away from home in this early stage of the season. Jay, you know, the teams that we've played at home are teams that you'd have expected to be the near at the top. You know, your Sheffield United, your Sunderland, and Burnley. We've already played. Was Sunderland away?
Sunderland was
away. Yeah.
Sunderland was away, so apologies. But in terms of Sheffield United and Burnley, they're probably the big two. We've both played those both at home. I think if the away forms that concerning and a team like Millwall, and I use that in inverted commas and very, very loosely because Harris has got them playing very, very well, can almost make us play to their script. If they can do it at this early stage of the season, what's to say that teams that have got a better 11 can't do that as well? Do you see what I mean? I think that's probably my biggest concern at this stage. I'm not necessarily too overly concerned about the actual way form in terms of numbers because it is still very early. We've still only played 7 or 8 away from home. And I think if you pick up an average of a point a game away from home, and 2 at home on average two on average for every game throughout the season
across the board. Yeah.
Across the board, the chances are that you're going to go up 92 points. So if we're picking up one of those on average away from home every game, and then with chipping in with wins and maybe the odd loss as well, I still think we'll have enough to go. And look, it's not a nice place to go, and I say Millwall with the greatest respect because they are playing and they are top of the form league at the moment. They are playing some they're playing to their style, and they're doing it very, very well. They've got similar results. I think they've won the last 4 or 5 1-0. They're beating Burnley in there as well.
That's their home record there, Luke, over the last 5 home games. They've only drawn 1. They've won the rest.
Yeah, I think on the overall form table, Jerry, I think they're actually top, home and away.
Form, yeah, that's that one there. There we go. I'll give you Millwall there now. And there. Yeah, well, they're flying. Look at that.
So
absolutely flying.
Yeah, they've jumped up. Yeah. But
I
think we all know what's going to happen when we play at home. Teams are going to sit back. There's not going to be many teams that will come and have a go at Ellen Road, providing we can keep that home form up and keep averaging, the wins and the odd draw. I don't feel like there's a team in it this year that can run away with it other than us. And I know that's going to sound a little bit maybe getting ahead of myself.
I don't think so.
But I just don't see it. I think the league's really very, very weak in comparison to recent years. We had an absolute shock with Ipswich last year, and fair play to them. They kept it up, and we all said they were going to drop off. We had Preston running away very early as well. And then obviously Leicester, who I think we were 12 points behind first last season.
We were 12 points at this stage. Yeah, they were miles ahead.
So with that in mind, and the fact that we do tend to have a better second third of the season, maybe under Farke went under that from January onwards, went through that real good run where we were unbeaten and broke all sorts of club records since the 40s, I think it was, or something daft. So yeah, it doesn't concern me. Look, there is obviously room for improvement there. Let's not beat around the bush. The squad that we've got available to us should be going down to Millwall and getting a result realistically, but that's not always how football works, and it's not played on paper. So there will have been some tired legs. It was cold. It was London. It was the Den. Neil Harris has gotten playing well, so I wouldn't read too much into that result. And I think the only other away recently that was a relatively poor performance was Bristol, and again, that's not a bad draw away from home. I don't think sometimes, as Jerry said, it's a proper championship fixture, and they're not easy. They're not always easy games to go and win.
Nope, not at all. And you've got to work hard, and you've got to. That's the bigger point, James, is you've got to know what you're going into that game to try and do, and you've got to figure out ways of winning matches. What do you think Leeds are lacking from an away perspective? Because clearly, the opposition we're going up against have a plan, and we know what the plan is: sit deep, wait for breaks or set pieces, and try and nick one. That tends to be the model, and be a little bit more physical than Leeds. What do you think is lacking in Leeds away from they need to change if they want to improve that away record and start turning those draws into wins and actually start to really start to pull away from teams?
I wouldn't say it's a lot, man. You say like pit teams sit back away, they do it at home as well. So it's like,
yeah,
I suppose there's a crowd involved as well. I suppose that plays a part in it. But I think for us, Leeds, and I think it's been our problem for a long, long time, is that we're just not clinical enough. And even in these tight games, we still create a good chance here and there, and we're just not putting them away. And we always need a lot of chances to score goals, and then we'll give a goal away just from nothing, and it'll be like, how have they scored from this? But we've had 20 chances in camp. But that's been my biggest gripe, and I think if we just improve that, just get a bit more clinical, I think some of these draws and some of these away performances will turn it to wins quite easily. But it's just being able to do that, really, isn't it?
That's the game, isn't it? That's the pressure on Farke is. James, he turns a couple of those draws into wins, and all of a sudden you're miles ahead.
Exactly, the Sunderland game. So, like, who's predicting that Meslier sidestepping a shot in the? He did catch a ball. It was just in another dimension by the looks of it. But that's what I'm saying. These games, we just give these goals away, and it always seems to. We tend to shoot ourselves in the foot quite a lot as being a Leeds fan. Yeah, so clinical, stop giving away stupid goals, and then we'll piss this league. If we go on a run like we did last year, we will win this league quite simple, because I don't think there's teams that can keep up.
Well, based on the points tally that we've got right now, we're 1 point better off than this time last season. So if we were to hit the same points tally as last year, we would have to go on that run again this year at some point. So, Jerry, we're looking forward to that run. I think everyone's kind of just looking forward to getting a couple of back-to-back wins. We've only had back-to-back wins once this season, and maybe that's where some of the frustration's coming from, that we're just not seeing the team really get into gear. Yet there've been moments and flashes of brilliance, and then there's been those moments where it's just a bit stop-start. I think if you look at Plymouth, first half outstanding, second half a bit meh. Same with Bristol City, same with West Brom. We played them, just really didn't get going. So, but when they do get going, Jerry, that's what we have to look forward to, surely.
Well, I think as James says, it's been clinical, and the amount of times I see balls whizzing across the box and nobody there, it always looks like it's behind a player or too far in front, or even Solomon taking one off Willie's foot, and that's got to be better. And I think we just take too many touches sometimes, and I know that's probably very basic tactical look on things, but it just feels like that. You know, we've spoken about this before. When the tempo is fast with us, nobody can live with us, and sometimes it just gets too slow and we get drawn into it, and we need to be better. And I mean, Millwall had one chance basically, or a couple of chances when we had it against the bar, and you know, we should have really been out of sight with the 75%. So that's got to be better. And somebody mentions, and we've mentioned before, set pieces. We don't get any goals from set pieces. You know, that's what Millwall based their game on. You know, if we could get 15, 20 more goals from set pieces, we're home and hosed really, but we're just nuts. We scored from one corner this year after 10 years of not getting corners, and that's got to be better. I worry about Melly, and I think I sent you some stats this week, and somebody said he's having a lot of clean sheets, but the shots he faces and the percentage of ones that he lets in is a bit of a worry. But he's been pretty well protected at home. Well, non-existent. Plymouth didn't show up, and QPR weren't that much better. But the one chance Millwall had, I thought his positioning wasn't great. So I worry about that. But I think as a squad, a bit of tweaking, you know, in the January window, and players coming back, I think we will have the best squad, and we just got to put balls. Well, I'm not worried that we're not winning 6 and 7-0. It'd be lovely, but you know, 2 and 3, putting teams out of sight, we should be well capable of that. And it's just got to be better finishing. I say Ramzani comes back. I think he's been badly missed, and you know, rotate the squad a bit more, because we have a bit of depth now, and you know, don't flog the players, which I think we did a bit last year. And let's hope that, as you say, nobody comes back with an injury from the internationals, or we got at least we got a decent stretch this time. We got Swansea on the Sunday rather than Sheffield United on the Friday, so that'll be a worry. But just be a bit better. I think it's as simple as that. Just be more clinical, bit higher tempo, and if it's not working, make a sub at 50 minutes, you know, or half time. I mean, we were looking at watches the other day. We thought 65 minutes. Yeah, he's calling them in, shirt off, 70 minutes, and it's you know, sometimes you look and you think that could change that. Brendan's gone off it now. He's been busy first half. Maybe swap it now. I mean, Schmidt came on the other day. What a revelation he was. He was brilliant. You know, he's a winger, I think, as well as a fullback, and he was lively, and just if somebody coming on like that in the 50, 60 minutes can change the game even more. 10 minutes. Matthew Joseph coming on late, it's difficult for him to make an impression. But, you know, against Millwall, if he'd come on earlier, I know he hit the post, but I mean, comes on earlier, and, you know, it's a different dimension and a bit more physicality. That might work. Or Pirro comes on, he scores a lot. You know, he changes it. Give him a bit longer. Yeah.
He's 6 goals off the bench.
Yeah, he's rubbish, isn't he? Yeah, absolute rubbish. He's, it's impressive. You know, just give him the chances, put the ball in there, and move it quicker, get it in there, and don't be offside. Many times we were caught offside on Saturday. It was a bit.
A lot.
Yeah, very tight. And I wish we get better referees. We really are getting the dregs coming up from the lower leagues. You know, although we might have David Coote next week. You know, he's. He's due to drop down again, isn't he? Yeah.
They get a 2-week suspension in the Championship. That's what they get. Yeah.
Well, apparently, after all that, Everton are getting deducted 10 points for that. So there you go.
Keep for everything. Just for it's Wednesday. Deduct Everton 10 points. There we go. Move on.
Yeah.
Luke, the statistics stuff is interesting. If you look at the possession stats, Leeds are miles ahead of everybody else in the league. If you look at the amount of passes, Leeds are miles ahead of everybody else in the league. The one that I suppose the important ones are these ones, I suppose, and these are goals on your shots. Look at Leeds for goals, same amount as Middlesbrough, but 168 shots we've taken. So we're top in terms of stats within the Championship this year. 24 goals out of that, and I suppose that's the question mark now, is the conversion rate, and then the other question that pops into that as well is, what do you do with Joel Pirro? Do you keep him on the bench, or do you start him from? And for me, our style of play, or at least how we play into Joel Pirro, is probably some of the problem in the first 90 minutes. But when it gets to the last 20, all of a sudden we start getting crosses in and it starts to stretch the game a bit more, if that makes sense. So it creates more space for him. What would you do with him at this point? Would you start Matteo for the running and then bring Joel on, or would you back Joe?
Do you know what? I asked this question straight after the game because, Matteo starts, misses chances because he's a young lad. He's going to miss. He's going to take some bedding in. We're expecting a lot for a young lad to come in and start for a leading championship side straight in for the 23. He's played no other first team football, so it's quite, he's not been on loan or anything like that. So it is a big ask for him to actually take that plunge and jump straight into that. And I think the expectation is always going to outweigh reality at Leeds United. That's how we are as a fan base. That is just naturally who we are, So. What my biggest concern, I think, Jer, is I don't want to dent his confidence, Matteo Joseph, if he's not getting the goals. He's already missed a few chances this season, and I think if those were Patrick Bamford, we'd be asking for his guts for garters by now. And I think there will come a stage when fans will go after Matteo Joseph. It's only natural if he continues to miss these chances. Whereas I think Pirro, he's a little bit more experienced. He's used to it, and he doesn't miss these chances. He doesn't. If the ball gets to him, he very rarely misses, doesn't he? It's just as you quite rightly say, the style of football we play doesn't tend to suit getting the ball into Joel Pirro in the 16, within 16 yards of the goal. So, very, very tough one for me. But it seems to be working better for us when Matteo starts, tires the defenders out, and then Joseph comes on and finds that extra half yard of pace. Space and not pace. He hasn't got half a yard of pace, but he finds that bit of space and buries it. But again, I think it's got to come down to game by game management. I don't think we can just outrightly say that actually Matteo Joseph's our starting number 9 or Joel Pirro's our starting number 9, because I think it has to be a game by game decision, and I think it depends who we're playing and where we're playing. I think away from home, I think probably Matteo Joseph starts and does that, tires the defenders out, because away from home, we probably opposite way around. Away from home, Pirro probably starts because there will be a little bit more space and more teams are more expected to play a little bit more loosely. At home, we just know that the 23 teams in the league that we're going to be playing are going to be sat back. So start Matteo Joseph, let him tire the defenders out, run around, bring Matteo Joseph on, but a bit earlier, give him half an hour, give him 10 minutes to get into the flow of the game, get a feel for it, and then give him 20 minutes to go at him. I think it does. The 70-minute thing does frustrate me a little bit, but it works. It seems to be working. How can you knock something that's working? So, in response to your question, Joe, I've probably not even answered it, have I?
We give me a very detailed conversation where your brain is. We know what you're thinking. I think the point you're making is right. I think it's a case of, this is where I think maybe Daniel Farke hasn't used the squad at his disposal best this year when he's had them available. He hasn't always had them available. But it is that horses for courses. There are games where you look at it and think it'll be a bit more stretched. And I think they're the games that suit Joel Pirro more, because we'll get balls into the flanks and we'll get balls across the goal, and that's when he's at his best. And then when there's teams playing low blocks, Matteo Joseph might not be scoring an awful lot of goals, but he's doing a huge amount of work for his team. And playing in that number 9 position as a lone striker in a 4-2-3-1, a lot of your game isn't about scoring. A lot of it's about being available to be presented for the ball. So dropping deep and showing and linking the play and holding it up and allowing Leeds to get up the park. So he does all of that really, really well. And as you say, he tires teams out, and then Joel comes on, there's a bit more space, gets the ball, bang, goal, back of the net, job done.
I have a question.
So for me, it is a case of
can you mind? I hope you don't mind. I've got a question for you. Where does Paddy Bamford fit into that equation?
I think the question with Paddy comes up when both players aren't scoring. As soon as you get both your strikers not scoring, the obvious question is going to be, well, then Paddy has to be the answer then, doesn't he? But if Paddy's the answer, I'm not 100% sure what the question really is. But we need to, I would like to see Leeds maybe try and get something that resembles more of a Daniel Farke number 9, even for the back end of the season on loan, to just box that off for certain games, because there is something missing up there. Like it doesn't always click. We have a phenomenal defensive record. We're joint third or second best in the league for defense. it's an excellent record. We barely concede unless we make a mistake. So there's something just missing that front four that's just not clicking that leads to putting teams away, because we should be putting teams away. We'd 14 shots within the box in the last game. 4 of them found the target, and 2 of them found the net. So the conversion rate does need to improve, and Leeds need to find something, but I'm not 100% sure what it is. But I don't think necessarily it's the 2 strikers that are the cause of all of that. I think that some of it is supply, some of it is style of play. That's not to say the way Leeds play style of play, but just sometimes it doesn't suit certain players. Like Joel Pirro wants the ball in front of him running at goal. He just doesn't get that with Leeds because teams drop back and sit, and it's impossible to do it. So you've got to figure out ways around it. So Fraga's got plenty there. He's got some young strikers as well. He's got some young players coming through as well that might do something for him. But I'd like to see Leeds go and get number 9 in January and just make sure of it. Just be done with it. But
I don't think that's going to happen, is it? Unless we let.
I don't think we do anything. I'd be shocked if we do anything outside of maybe try and get a 10. But outside of that, that's the only one that was left open from the summer for me. But I don't know. I do want to ask a question though, because before we wrap up, it keeps coming up. And James, I'm going to come to you first. And I've saved this from Andy. And the reason I'm saving this is not to trigger people. This is a question, absolutely more than anything else. So I watched the Don't Go to Bed Just Yet on BBC yesterday. I was listening to it, sorry. And it was a very interesting conversation. Johnny Buchan posed the question around Leeds Fortress. What was it? Ellen Board or something like that. It was. Yeah. So was it valid? And Adam Pope said, well, it's about the destination. It's about getting to the Premier League. And then Johnny said, the journey is always better than the destination. And for me, then that was where the light bulb went off of. The last time we got promoted, the journey was fantastic because the football was amazing. The destination was the Premier League and ended up being crap. So we know the destination is going to be a bit crap when we get there, but the journey's not been a whole lot of fun this time around. And I think that's maybe where some of the frustration's coming from. But James, does it matter if we're boring? Do you care? A lot of people don't. Would you like to see it slightly better, or is it just a case of 3 points, 3 points, 3 points, get out of this league?
I will accept being boring all the time if we're guaranteed to win every game. Don't get me wrong, I would like a bit of excitement here and there. And we look back at that Bielsa season like it was the best thing ever, and it was, but there were still complaints going on then as well with certain ways that we were playing, substitutions, one way of playing, always playing the same player. So we remember it a lot differently, but it's similar to what we're doing now. I'll take it. Can I do a variation? We guaranteed to lose 3 games, but every other game is amazing.
I'll be all right with that.
I'll do that. I'll take that. Yeah, take that one. But happy
Jerry,
to
where do you
draw to win. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point, because we are going to lose games. But there's no way we go on and unbeaten for the rest of the year. We are going to lose games. So if you could say, well, we lose 1 in every 4, or say 3 more games, but everything else will be brilliant between them, fine, absolutely. Take that, bite your hand off for it. So, but Jay, what's your take on it? Does it matter? Or as the point is made here, because these are fair points. Blaise says winning is never boring.
Exactly.
But Danny Mac says boring. A win is 5 if you check the score 5 p.m. But if you're shelling out, basically, if you're going to the game to watch that,
yeah, I'll take QPR and Plymouth till the rest of the season. I'll take 2 and 3-0 wins and racking up the points. When you're 15 games in, you can't win the league. But if QPR game is April, it's brilliant. The crowd's going mental, and so no, it's all about results, and we know how hard it is. We know how we fell off the end of last season, so there'll be good games in there, and there'll be not so good. But as long as we're not losing them, I'm happy. If we'd lost 4-3 the other day, I'd be gutted. 2-0, bit dull. Maybe not taking enough chances. I'll take that, but we just got to get out of this league. So it's fine tuned. If we were Luton or someone, then we'd have real worries. We're worried that we're tucked in 3rd place, well placed, and beating a lot of teams and look good against a lot of teams. As I said earlier, doing okay, it could be better, but it's results, and that run we went on last year was so massive. And I suppose when we're talking about strikers as well, Pirro and Joseph, I'd just rotate it, put Pirro in, and if it's not working, put Joseph in, and just mix and match. We will need number 9 in. If we could get Patrick, that started last January when he went on that scoring streak, and get him to get 8 or 9 goals, but you just feel that he comes on and he's just not got the impact. What Fark did have when he was at Norwich was Pookie, and Pookie just he was getting 25, 30 goals a season. He was putting everything away. And you need someone like that. Is there a striker out there like that we can get in on loan in the Premier League? I don't know. Is there anybody surplus? And that's a difficult one. Someone come down the channel. We've seen Kiefer Moore last year. I mean, seeing him this year at Ellen Road, he was dreadful. But last year he came in for Ipswich and he got 10 goals, didn't he? Which made a big difference. So if there's someone out there like that, let's go and grab him. But we should have enough though. We should have enough without a couple of players in January, but we should have enough with this squad, everybody fit, and maybe a few goals from midfield as well. That's always been letting us down. I know Brendan's got 4 this year, but still Tanaka, although he does everything else. Rothwell, they probably need to chip in. Whether Ampadu and Gruev wouldn't, we need something from there. Yeah, so. It's fine margins, and those fine margins aren't quite going for us in some elements of it. But we are going to take someone apart one of these weeks. But if it's 1-0, 1-0, dullish, I'll take it. I'll be very happy. I'll look at the table next day and it's fine. If it's a 4-all draw, it's 2 points dropped, and that's the way you look at it.
That's a good point. Luke, before I get to you on the question, just Lee saying, if we're number 1 for shots, number 1 for passes, and second in the league on goals, how does that make us boring? As they say, Lee, that's the stats versus the eye test. It's the slow football. It's just a slow build up. And then as has also been said, I'm making sure I get the right comment up here, was basically along the lines of, I dread seat. There we go. We start off Zippy fans. Oh, that's not the right one. Sorry, same person, wrong quote. There. Don't be too up inside 10 minutes because we know what's going to happen after that. And that's like sit back and then just manage the game. That's where the boring comments are coming from. But Luke, same question to you. There's a lot of people saying, go get Buendia. Buendia has made it very clear he's not coming back to the Championship. He turned down the move as well as Aston Villa. He said he was done with the Championship. So that one's off the mark. People saying Sainz from Norwich is an option. He's been very good this year. The guy at Watford as well, whose name is impossible to pronounce, has been phenomenal at number 10 as well. That's the guy. Thank you, Luke. But Luke, where do you sit on this? Do you give it crap about style of football? Do you want to be entertained with the football, or do you want to see Leeds pick up 3 points?
Do you know what, Jared?
It's a question to ask that, Luke, because some people want to see both.
Of course, and I think the very fact that we saw it under Marcelo Bielsa is the reason why we expect to see both now. And I think we were very spoiled, and I think we probably have become slightly entitled as a fan base. And I think the realism is that to ever see that again in your lifetime, is the chances are going to be very, very slim. I mean, Spurs are seeing it with Postecoglou. They're playing nice stuff, but they're not going to win anything. Let's be realistic. It's almost you've got to sacrifice one for the other, which isn't great. So, do you want to be? Do we want to get out of this league and bore? I'm not bored. I'm enjoying watching us win, and when we lose, it pees me off a little bit. I don't know. I'll swear on this one. It's been a while, so I'll try and keep my P's and Q's to myself. But yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? Like. Is it really that boring? I mean, yes, the build-up played relatively slow, but I think this season we've made drastic improvements based on last season. I still think we're far more exciting this season, minus a Somerville, minus a Rutter, minus a
much less open than last year, Luke, which is a massive thing. Like every time we lost the ball last year, it was counter-attack was on, and that doesn't seem to be the case this year.
Yeah, and I still think that we, if you actually sit and watch the game and don't just take out 70% of the game and actually watch what we do, there is quite a lot of excitement. If you watch some of the runs Bogle makes down the right past Dan James or whatever, and same with Firpo on the left, it is actually quite exciting. And just because we're not scoring overhead kicks from the halfway line and Rutter's not rainbow flicking it over 3 players before smashing it across the pitch and then into row Z, it's still exciting to watch if you're a Leeds fan. And because I've been, and all of us, I'm sure, have been Leeds fans for so long, we were spoiled with those years with Marcelo, because before that you've got to think of the managers we had with Warnock and people like that, and you just got to think, if you think this is boring, what the hell did you think of that time? Like, do you know what I mean? Because it's really not. And the quote you brought up there, it's we are number 1 for shots in the league. We are number 2 for goals scored. What more do you physically want other than to see a Jorginho type player, which comes at his cost? And as you say, we're going to lose possession more. We're going to concede more. So
Yeah.
I'm competent at the moment with how things are going, and I maintain and stand by what I say. If we continue to play this way, we'll get out of this league, and we'll see what the 49ers are really made of in terms of the money and the backing.
Yeah, they'll have to do
and then we
something
might see the
significant.
excitement side of things again. You know what I mean?
That will be the thing, yeah. And look, Daniel Farke has historically had at least one player in that front kind of 10-9 position who was exciting, and he hasn't really got it right now. He's got a hard-working player and two hard-working players if you put Mateo Joseph in there as well, but maybe not the finesse that he's looking for in that position. James, real quick before we wrap up, what do you want to see from Leeds coming out of the international break and into the next? Because the next set of games is a reasonably, I shouldn't say this out loud, but it looks on paper to be a reasonably decent run of fixtures. I'll throw it up the screen now and give you a look at them. 2 seconds, and there we go.
Have a peek at that.
There you go. So we have Swansea next because that was moved, and then you've got that round of games there. Luton, we're at home for Luton, away to Burnley. Then we've got away to Blackburn, home to Derby, home to Middlesbrough, away to Preston, and home to Oxford. What do you want to see from Leeds coming out of this break, James?
I want us to see us win every single game from now to the end of the season, mate. Clinical, be more clinical, and just also the other thing as well up there is just a little bit of decision making, because there's been a lot of little snapshots. Aronson on Saturday, he could have played a ball in, instead he's had that shot in on the inside. So there's a little bit of that going on as well, and just being a little bit more unselfish up there, because I know they all want to stake their claim, they want to stay in the team. Getting Ramazani back, I think that's going to be massive for us as well, because I think we talk about flair players. I think he could be that type of player for us, because he's got it in him. He likes taking on players, and he works really well with Nonto. That link-up play with them two was starting to blossom a bit. I think getting him back will bring a bit more out of Nonto as well. So be more clinical, be a little less unselfish up there, and get Ramazani back. That's what I'm looking forward to, mate.
He's a big one, isn't he? He's a real big one. Jerry, what do you want to say?
Well, I see there's a rogue fixture in there because we don't have Burnley till January. I don't know what's happened there, but unless we play 2 games in a day. But if you take that, that's you see a lot of scope there for Dr. Leeds, because Swansea can't score. Blackburn not being on a great run. Middlesbrough tricky. Preston at Christmas is always dodgy. Oxford we should, and Stoke and Derby. Perfect fixtures for me, by the way, at Christmas. As I said, just keep winning, do a bit better, put more chances away, get everybody fit, and I don't think we'll be far off. We're good enough. If you look at Leicester last year, their fans were moaning that it was a bit dull. They weren't at the end of the season when they went up and hit form, and it's sometimes it's you can't. The job is, and the result is, to get out of this division and to get as many wins and points on the board and not get drawn into playoffs. I don't want to do that again. I really don't. And I think we have to go up automatically. And those run of games we got, all winnable, all get points out of. And if we can come out of all that lot unbeaten, I think we'll be there. Because you look at Burnley. Burnley are struggling to score. Sunderland dropped a 2-goal lead. We think we're the only ones. Everybody else is having a moan around us. I mean, Middlesbrough and Watford and Millwall are all in the top 6, 7. And we've seen them all this season. And Middlesbrough are flaky. I know the big win at the weekend. Maybe they are coming. Watford weren't great. And they scored 6 at Sheffield. So you look at some teams play us, and then you see them the following week and they're good. You think, we actually played well against these and we held them back, and they're beating the other team. So, just be better. Just a wee bit better, but we're doing okay.
Luke, what about you? Where do you sit with it? What do you want to see when we come out of this? Because a lot of people are saying top by Christmas or 8 points clear by Christmas. This is outside of maybe Middlesbrough. The away games aren't that difficult. The home games look pretty winnable.
Yeah, no, I think we should be going into it with, look, we're not going to win them all. I'll be honest with you. If we do, I'll be very, very surprised. I think we should be going in with the attitude that we should be winning them. But realism is that, as I said, football is football, and it doesn't happen like that. So going into the new year, I think probably if we stop at Blackburn, I think Blackburn are a decent side this year. I I think have we not got Swansea before them?
We've Swansea before.
Luton.
Yeah, it's on the
Swansea and
previous
Luton.
page.
Sorry, I couldn't see. Yeah, Swansea,
You have
Luton.
Swansea and Luton before we get to that. The Burnley game.
Yeah.
Just throwing us off.
Swansea, Luton. Swansea, tough away day. Again, Wales, we tend to notoriously struggle down there. But I still think we should have enough to beat them. Luton, very, very poor side this year. Absolutely. Fans are absolutely mad. Yeah. And we're at home. Another 3 points. I've got on my fixture list Burnley on the Wednesday, the 27th, but we're playing.
Yeah,
Luton
I have it as well, but that's been moved. The Sunderland game is mixed in there as well, but that was moved as well. Moved.
No Burnley, Blackburn away. It'd be very, very tough on the 30th. I think that will be probably the toughest run up until December. But Derby at home, again, we should be winning comfortably. I think probably, if I'm realistic, over the next, how many games we've got before the new year? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Add 2.
8, 9. 9 games. I would be looking to take...
There's one on the previous screen and one on the top, so you got 11. Yeah.
There's 11?
If you're counting these ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 being Luton, 10 being Swansea. 10.
Sorry, yeah, I wasn't including Blackburn at home, but including Blackburn at home. From those 10 games, I would be expecting probably 22 points, I reckon.
Well, should be enough to put you top. Comfortably.
Get used to Monday nights though in the new year. Monday nights are out.
Yeah,
it's mad. Monday and Sunday lunchtime. It's lovely. Cheers, Sky. You might have to mute. You may have to mute some of the crowd songs for those games. Although, ironically, Monday suits me actually. It's probably good.
There you go. As long as it suits
you say the other half. The weekend is yours. Yeah, I'm not going to football this weekend. It goes, "Why are you kicking off Monday then?" Yeah, well, minor thing. So we've all that to come.
Right, folks, we'll wrap it up there. Don't forget to head over to Art to Know Better, who have their podcast going live. Luke, what time are you live at?
I think they've already started, mate. Just started about 5 minutes ago.
Head over to them now. We're going to talk to the lads as well. And we'll be back in the morning with the Leeds news for more stuff. Then we'll have some more stuff out during the week as well, trying to get an academy view with Jerry McDermott. Too many Jerrys. Jerry McDermott at some point this week as well, while we're on the break, to look back at the youth side, who have had some absolute banging performances in the young players. Reece Chadwick is averaging a goal or an assist in every single game so far this season, which is nuts. So we're talking about what's coming through there as well. Lads, thanks very much for popping over. Not Another Leeds podcast, your Friday night and Sunday. Are you Sunday this week?
Correct, mate. Friday this week. I'm not on there this Friday, but the lads will still be going ahead. And then we'll be back on Sunday with the Sunday club, yeah. So tune in.
Grand. Luke, and you guys have your normal schedule throughout the week?
Yeah, normal schedule. So we'll be live tonight, and then we won't be back then until next week. There'll be no post-match Brad and Coke. Yeah, we'll be probably back next week with a bit of something. I don't know what.
Great. Go check them out now. They're still live. If you want to keep watching some Leeds content, go over to them now and smash me a like on the way out if you fancy it. And I'll we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
See you, folks.
Bye. Thank you.